Supposed to start.
Yes, hello. Well,
Hello again.
15 minutes wasn't enough. Sorry. Let's start. Okay, so I hope that everyone is ready and we continue our section. And now the first report of this part is multi-criteria recommender system to ensure the professional orientation for engineering degree applicants, excuse me. So, do we have the presenter?
Hello.
Hello. Hello, Lydia. Do start your screen sharing and report. Right. And while Lydia is starting the screen sharing, I remind you that we are limited with 15 minutes for each report, 10 minutes for presentation, and 5 minutes with your questions. And if you need to write any questions into the chat, please do so. I will read them and we will answer them. Let's start.
The growth of students' academic mobility, along with the range expansion of innovative technologies of intellectual data analysis and knowledge management, led to the need to apply new approaches to the training of qualified specialists in demand of the labor market. However, the average student usually lacks the skills and life experience to comprehensively assess and adequately compare his or her capabilities with regard to narrowly specialized aspect in the curriculum. In the presented study, the authors formalized the shortcomings and potential conflicts of the training during the specialization of the educational and professional program contained within the limits of determining the priority of variable components in the hierarchy of the education trajectory. On the basis of a world practices study and a comparison of common educational means of analyzing the results of the applicants' educational activities, a partial lack of mechanisms and insufficient automation of the optimal decision-making process for assessing the priority of simulated educational trajectories was revealed. Therefore, the development of adequate client-server analytical tools of the personalized support of the cognitive abilities of the listener, especially the participant of academic mobility, generation of contextual recommendations in decision-making from the complex choice of the variable disciplines is timely and relevant. So in the presented study, a four-level model of personalization and further determination of variable components priority in the educational trajectory hierarchy is proposed for the purpose of forming dominant subject competencies. The results of the performed diagnosis of existing competencies by explicit data collection methods allow to make a decision regarding further professional orientation. This professional orientation further ensures the strengthening of subject competencies due to selective components and tools for eliminate identified gaps. It was decided to formulate the professional orientation of the chosen by the student through the normative content of the relevant subject competencies defined by the standard of higher education on the example of the specialty automation and computer technologies. Therefore, it's necessary to conduct a content analysis of the educational and professional program for the selection of variable components, each of which will contain the maximum number of related competencies, that is, competencies with the highest situation weight. The set of filtered components of parallel semester blocks with the closest interdisciplinary connection constitutes a block of consecutive disciplines, which together with a set of mandatory components forms and annual fragments of the individual educational trajectory of a higher education applicant. The providential weighted sums distribution for individual values of conditional criteria made it possible to build a global preference model as a decision matrix to describe the problem of efficiency analyzing to automated choosing the educational trajectory, which is optimal for applicants' capabilities and inclination, is resulting adaptive multi-attribute function of weighted feature vector to determine the total utility to the current education trajectory helps to improve the quality of recommendation. The developed analytical apparatus is the basis of the designing intellectual system for determining the optimal variable components, taking into account the structural and logical sequence of the educational disciplines study and determine the content of education of the chosen specialty. The next formation of the consecutive disciplines block red row will take place according to the described mechanisms, but with a narrowed list of variable components. This narrowing is caused by the specific of the consecutive disciplines block of the previous autumn semester and their degree of affinity with the elective components of the parallel spring semester. Next, the optimal educational trajectory is determined based on the weighted feature vector. Increased independent work on the gaps will help to acquire missing competencies or actualize forgotten ones of the chosen educational trajectory. An adaptive synopsis composed of the resources of the university's knowledge base will help to coordinate such work based on the materials of topic from which satisfactory academic performance was previously revealed. After completing the target topics selection of the educational and methodological content of the knowledge base, a set of descriptors is accumulated, which is subject to further ordering by relevance. Finally, the hypercontent of the adaptive synopsis is generated as a coaching support of the personal virtue office of the authorized engineering education applicant. Based on the generated array of links, the students gets access to the target content of the academic knowledge base from the terminal of any network device and can study at an individual pace, taking into account their own performance peaks. In order to test the projected knowledge management technology based on the intellectual system, a pedagogical experiment was conducted during 2017 and 2021 years. 132 students of specialty automation and computer integrated technologies voluntarily participated in it, who were divided into experimental and control groups in order to identify the influence of the intellectual system on success. The results of educational achievements in both groups at the beginning and at the end of the formative stage were compared. In particular, the activity of students of both groups in scientific work demonstrated the distribution of the number of published scientific works, presented projects, and participation in professional Olympiads for the 2017 and 2021 academic years. The subjects of bachelor's and later master's qualification papers in the experimental group had a clear professional direction. As follows, performed research has shown that the transition from traditional to project-based learning strategies, the flexibly implemented within the variable components without significantly changing to educational model at the faculty or university level. Adapting the global preference model to educational standard requirements made it possible to simplify complex decisions in determining the dominant segments in the educational trajectory hierarchy and made such decision more rational. Consequently, the education process requires the ability to adapt to students and their way of learning, so that each generation of students achieves the best learning outcomes. We thank the organizers of the conference who in such difficult circumstances still perfectly organized the scientific event. Report is complete, and last thanks for your attention.
Thank you, Lydia. And now, so do we have any questions in the group?
Yes, I have several questions. Lydia.
Right.
Usually, the set of chosen competencies consists of competencies in mixed nature. For example, in text, you may be maybe in a numerical value or in interval view. And which convolution criteria do you use in your research?
Oh, okay.
The obtained educational results were tested for the difference between the means of two connected samples using a paired two-sample students T criteria. Yes.
Okay.
Interesting.
Thank you.
And how to update your model if we have new data?
Oh, the adaptation. That's a great question. Karyna, thank you.
You mean adaptation to other institute?
Maybe our
Yes.
other
Our
faculty.
model is maybe adapted.
Okay, thank you. I understand.
Okay, that's probably a very difficult question and complex, and we need to research to conduct this research in various institutes. You see, the Lviv Polytechnic Institute and some others. Well, that's a deep topic.
It's difficult. Yes.
Thank you, Lydia. Now we proceed and okay, we go on to the next, to our next report. Just a moment. Now, big data. Okay, big data analysis on the enterprise's business activity under the COVID-19 conditions. Oh, these beautiful COVID-19 times. Olga, is it yours? Report?
Yes. I will present our research and still about COVID-19 because we still have it. It's not in the past, but nowadays in Ukraine we have more actual actual situation, and we have to talk about COVID, about war, and to think how to work in new conditions. Our research is conducted by Olga and I, Olga, and all we are from Lviv Polytechnic National University. Everybody of us knows that the pandemic crisis has changed conditions of doing business, and our business needs to think how to work in new conditions, and we still continue to think how to do it. Crises, which are an integral part of the modern economy, requires new approaches to analysis. Big data analysis can be used to these needs, and nowadays, when the data is multiplied year by year, it's very actual to use new approaches how to analyze data. I have to say that data analysis helps us to forecast some situations, forecast data for decision-making processes, and of course, data analysis we can modernize according to the economic needs and to use in different spheres, not only in IT sphere, but also in mixed sphere. If to talk about literature review, we concentrated on 3 different directions. What is big data analysis and how we can apply it, how COVID-19 influence on business, and how to manage the enterprise's business activity using big data analysis possibilities. And have to say that in every view, we have found enough actual works of our scientists and their research situation, and everybody of them says that yes, we have new conditions, yes, we have to think how to live in new conditions, how to work in new conditions, and let's make our management more effective and our business more effective because we have such possibilities. So The COVID-19 pandemic has changed the business environment for all market participants, and you can see on this slide that quarantine restrictions and the lockdown provoked a number of problems for our enterprises. The biggest problem, 74% of cases for enterprises, was the disruption of existing economic relations, which made it impossible to work effectively, even if quarantine conditions do not have a significant impact on a specific subject. Other reasons you also can see on the slide. Also, we can conclude that almost all enterprises had to make changes in their activity, and 82 of enterprises changed their work process by applying a hybrid approach of fulfillment of their duties, and have to know that if you work online, you also need to use new techniques, new approaches, how to analyze information, how to form your reports, how to organize decision-making process, and so on and so on. As our research is about business activity, I have to say that in July 2020, experts claimed that recovery of business will take us 1, maybe 2 years. 1 year later, they said that it will take 2, maybe 3 years. If to analyze what is going on in Ukraine now, except COVID-19, we have a war, so to recover business activity to the previous year, we will need much more long time than 3 years, because nowadays our GDP decrease almost for 30%, and how to increase it to the previous level is a really difficult question. Also, I have to say that 75% of enterprises under COVID-19 conditions were forced to reduce the scope of their activities, and 11% of them stopped their activities. Some of them now are working, another still not on the market because different situation, different condition doesn't let them to continue their work. Consequently, in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, enterprises have to change the ways of doing business and to adapt to changes. And if you have good tools to analyze data, analyze situation in which you work, it seems that you will make better decisions of how to do your business. We decided to concentrate on the business activity and on these indicators, how to evaluate business activity, and have to say that in financial analysis, there are a set of indicators which we use to analyze this way of financial state of our business, and we use just 5 ratios, 5 indexes, how to calculate this business activity of some enterprise. And I have to say that every of these ratio have to increase to say that our business is going good, but in such difficult conditions, it's difficult to achieve increase in every ratio. So it seems that it's better to use some integral index, and we propose to use integral index of business activity, and to use all these 5 chosen indicators to calculate it, and to say how the wage is of every ratio. We organized overview of our Ukrainian enterprises and used data analysis, propose you these ways in our model. Integral indicator is not ideal way how to estimate business activity, but it's one of the way how to use complex of indicators and not to talk about every one of them in a separate way, because saying about is our business activity good or not enough good? Better to operate with one value, one result. The main what we would like to say that, of course, we have the directions on which the COVID-19 pandemic impacts on enterprises' business activities on the left figure. And as we can see, the enterprises' activity under COVID-19 conditions is characterized by a reduction in sales volume, a decrease in competitive positions, and minor problems in the financial state. An increase in the enterprise's business activity can be achieved thanks to the implementation of some measures, and you can see them on the right figure on the slide. And have to say that the main directions of increasing business activity are increasing the efficiency of property use and the implementation of innovative technologies that will allow the digitalization of certain areas of activity. It is also important to increase the competitiveness of product and search for new sales markets, and it's the best way how to improve your business in so difficult conditions. It is also extremely important to be able to distinguish between those changes and problems in the enterprise's activity that are caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and those that are manifestation of market change trends. So we have to separate these different causes and to talk about them in different way. But have to concentrate your attention on the possibilities of digitalization, because it's one of the way how to improve business, how to work in after COVID-19, how to work at the period of war, and how to continue to work in the digital world. So the COVID-19 pandemic has made the issue of digitalization a priority to ensure the enterprise's efficiency. Therefore, the transition to innovation and digitalization of business processes is the basis for improving the enterprise's business activity. On the slide, you can see recommended measures to improve enterprises' business activity through activate digitalization and expected risk of the implementation, because every measure has some risks, some benefits, and some losses, and we have to understand that it's not free to implement such measures, and expected results must be compared with expenditures which we need to do to realize such digitalization. But I have to say that digitalization is our future. Now impossible to live without it, and just the question in what spheres we will implement it faster, in what later, and what will be the results of such improvement. So, if to conclude our research, I have to say that the results of big data analysis on the enterprise's business activity under the COVID-19 conditions shows that there was a real need to implement internal changes in the business, and the proposed model will allow to unify the approach to the identification and improvement of the level of the enterprise's business activity in an unstable business environment. Also, at the end, I have to say that the research considers digitalization as a tool for improving the enterprise's business activity under such difficult conditions. And in such way, big data analysis is the basis of decision-making in the conditions of change, considering the non-standard nature of doing business and the need for through understanding of the situation and the factors affecting it. Thanks to application big data analysis, it is possible to act rationally, to develop business, and to have an actual basis of our decisions. It's short about our research, and hope that it was interesting for you. Thank you for your attention. Glad to see you here in such difficult situation which we have, like COVID and war. So take care of you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Olga. This is the time we have to leave in. So
Yes. no
And
way just to leave, just to continue our work and try to do it in best way.
Yes, yes. And so we hope that anyone has any questions.
Yes, of course.
Okay, Karyna, do please. Let's start.
Olga, in proposed model, you use 5 parameters. How do you choose these parameters? And what about other characteristics of enterprises?
We choose the main ratios which we use when we calculate financial state of the enterprise, and when we try to say what is the financial state in the section of business activity. So they are main. Other ratios, other indexes are calculated like talent indexes, and so add them in the one model or multiply them. At the end, we will receive just one, yes, because they are calculated like talent indexes. Also, we asked enterprises which indexes are the main for them when they try to analyze the activity, and what is the weight of these indexes when they make their decisions. And using such information, we gather it together and form such model. Of course, if situation will change and enterprises will decide that some other indexes are more important for them, this model can be changed. But nowadays, it's enough simple and enough easy to use such model to make some calculations and to form decisions on its base.
Okay, understandable. Thank you. And other questions. Which mathematical apparatus are you going to use for researching and resolving your task?
I didn't think about this, so sorry, I can't answer this question.
Okay.
Oh,
Mathematics is far from me. I am financial. My education is for finance. I work at finance department, so my work is from financial side in this research. So sorry.
Okay, so you will have to contact some mathematician. And
yes.
So if I may, I would like to ask a question not about mathematics. And my question is the following. So frankly speaking, the COVID and the war and the earthquake, they all are like force major situations, yes, which we haven't dealt with. Well, why not? We did actually. The earthquake happened, and as a specialist in finances, how would you estimate is the impact of the COVID? Well, we do understand it's the worldwide situation, but can we compare it with something else? Is it comparable with the influence of some other force major situations? And maybe can we compare its influence in one region, in one country, to some force major situations, to the influence of some force major situations like local, like, for example, the earthquake in Turkey, for example, for yes, this country?
I understand your question, thanks. I have to say that we have very similar research like you asked. In that research, we tried to compare crises in different countries, different regions, and under different conditions. And I have to say that when we have crisis, our financial market reacts on it. And the main difference is how fast we can stabilize our financial market and how fast our business can recover after this crisis. So it's comparable, it's possible to compare different reasons, different influence on our economy, on financial sphere, exactly. We will get different results, but if to compare the one country and different crises, it's very, very similar results. If compare one crisis in different countries, different spread, different time lag, how to recover our system. So it's possible. We tried to do it, but that research was not about business activity, about foreign exchange market, about how our currency react, but general financial market reacts on all these influences, and we can investigate it, we can talk about it, and we can try to compare and use that measures which was good at previous crisis and implement it today and look, is it good or not? Because maybe it's not possible to achieve the same results of improvement, but maybe it will work too and give us the same good results like in previous period. So
Yes.
thank you for questions. Yes.
Yes, thank you. Oh, Oksana, you're welcome with your question, please.
What institutions and who else your product will be useful for? This question.
Once more, sorry.
What institutions and persons will the product be useful for?
I think it's more useful for the top level of enterprise when they try to analyze what is going on with their own enterprise, and also it will be good for use for some researchers or government bodies when they want to understand what is going on in the economy at all, when they want to compare different enterprises, maybe different branches of economy, and to try to understand how the economy activity, business activity has changed during last period, what is going on in our economy and how to improve it. So I think it can be used in different levels, as an enterprise level, the same at government level, for analysis, for comparing what is going on in business.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you too.
Right, thank you. Any other questions? Anything else?
Thank
Well,
you for a nice discussion. Have a nice day.
Thank you. So yes, the crisis management maybe is not so frightening. Maybe we have something to help us survive. We'll hope so. Right, next topic, next report is building an intelligent system for managing immigration labor resources in conditions of uncertainty of military actions based on Markov chains. Okay, do we have the representatives? Right, who would be presenting?
Representative this report is Professor Sharko, Kherson Maritime Academy.
Okay, yes,
Yes.
and we welcome you, and do start your report, please.
For building an intelligent system for managing immigration, labor, research in condition of uncertainty of military action based on the Markov chains. This is a very actual theme. The possibility of using elements of the theory of discrete Markov chain for modeling of kinetics and immigration of the able-bodied population caused by military operation has been studied. A detailed and conceptual model of the immigration research management system have been developed. In contrast to the traditional use of Markov chains, time is not an agreement for managing immigration labor research, but a described sequence of states. Yes. The main difficult faced by displayed persons. Measure of the labor resources, mainly actually workers in the field of the construction, work in the service sector, cleaning the territory, security, etc. Uneven evacuation and the associated variable quantitative composition of the resident population caused by emergence and durance of hostilities. The difference in the time component, continuous times, associated with organization movement abroad, discrete time caused by the offensive, the seizure of the territories, the destruction of the object of vital use, different age composition of the able-bodied population, because many women with children and pensioners were let through the border. The task of managing the potential labor resource based on big data of a stochastic nature can be formulated as a decision-making problem under condition of uncertainty with probability of possible outcomes and scenarios. The choice of the domination of alternative for evacuation placed the country living conditions, financial and material support, and assessment of the readiness of relocation has become the propriety of Union. This review shows that practical appropriate application of Markov chains are wide and varied. Separated fragments of the president experience were used to develop the research methodology. The dynamics of the process. The dynamics of the process is determined by two aspects: the initial probability distribution and the matrix and transition probabilities. The equation described the initial probability distribution. The matrix of transition probabilities is constant of the transition probability vectors. Matrix. Conceptual model of intelligent system managing immigration resource. The formalization of the primary measures of the management of immigration resource is shown in this slide. The state statistic of Ukraine estimate the number of labor immigrants at 1.3 million people, and experts estimate 2 million people, up to 4 million people disagreements arise because of different dates collection methods. Probabilistic estimates of dynamic influence of the main factors are present in slide number 6. We obtained by proceeding the available information from the UNICEF, UNICO, the Institute of Demography, the National Academy of Science of Ukraine, Office, the UN Military Commissariat. Conditional probabilities of the evacuation decision processes. The transition probability matrix the transition probability matrix steps to build of Markov chain. The first step by building a system of management of immigration resources is to establish the availability of your own means for moving in our territory, characterized by the parameter V1. An oriented graph of Markov chains for building intelligent system for managing immigration labor resource is a phase of uncertainty in the military operation is shown this graph. Since the system transition from the one state to another occurs at indefinite interval, the occurrences of which is due to the imagined military situation and the accumulation of an appropriate amount of innovate and other research. It has a consistent Markov process is discrete time. The presented graph helps to indefinitely the most important points in the construction of the categories of the target function and to make informed decision to strengthen the position of which to focus. This graph can serve as a simulation model for implementing an intelligent system for managing immigration labor resources under the uncertainty of military operation. Conclusion. Markov chains reveal the essence of the relationship between the probability distribution of the main control parameters in a visual form and at various levels. The use Markov chains allows predicted the result of the future action, generate and predict situation without the use of mathematical algorithm. The advantage of the developed intelligent system for managing immigration research is the ability to model and regulate the process of making appropriate decisions in real time and adjust the system to any information situation. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much. So, do we have any questions, dear colleagues?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have a question,
Yeah,
tiny
Karyna,
question.
you're welcome. So please.
You use Markov chain in your research. Have you considered other approaches or other methods for modeling of domain?
Yes. Based on the formalization of the accumulation knowledge and experience is considered the parameters of the location and intelligence system for managing immigration labor research was created, taking into account the influence of uncertainty, the destabilization, environment factor using Markov chain. The novelty of the technology for managing immigration research using Markov chains is replacing equal step time interval with the discrete sequence of the states caused by military operation. Markov chains are powerful tools that provide real substantiation of the decision based on the preceding a large number of experimental data, some of which form the table obtained with one of the other probability.
Okay, thank you very much. We are a bit over limit. So if we need further discussion, then we'll continue it at the end of the section, if you don't mind. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you, Alexander. And this topic is also very important, especially for those people who are abroad today. Now we go on, we continue, and we have the next report, which is analytical approaches to news content processing during the war. Excuse me, during the war in Ukraine in mass media of opposing geopolitical alliances. So, also very up-to-date topic. And do we have the representative?
Yeah, I'm ready
Oh,
to
Oksana.
present. Yeah,
Thank you very much. So let's listen and do share the screen, please.
Right now, is it seen?
Yes, we can see it. And we have a bit of time left for our section. So let's go on.
You see the topic, yeah, and hybrid approach features contemporary warfare with a vital role of information component. A recent study of the social and political news content of mass media on the Russian war against Ukraine reveals controversial information concerning related facts. For analytics personnel, mastery of English is needed for the purpose to prepare analytical materials based on sources of the type above mentioned. In the meantime, mastering English perfectly is a problem for most of Ukrainian personnel engaged in research and analytics, owing to they are not native speakers. This provokes an additional overload combined with significant information workflow on a particular subject. The analysis of syntactic structure in the international mass media news concerning Russian war against Ukraine shows the main narrations of counterparts. They originate from news reviews from the West and the East, manipulative rhetoric of Russian public diplomacy, propaganda. Research of narration on this subject shows that mass media of belligerents translate narrations that are controversial in their content and rhetoric, and form a kind of alternative reality for target audience of represented state. So it provokes polarized reactions of audiences backing different belligerents correspondingly. As a consequence, this characteristic is wanted to be tracked in the process of automatic procedure of text analysis by the NLP technique. So you see these examples, and the conceptual approach to the analysis of the natural language text information means the following. We see a natural language text as an interaction of three independent systems: linguistic system, the system about the surrounding environment; the pragmatic system, it is what kind of problems we resolve when analyzing the text. This approach provides realization of the principle of separate representation of linguistic support, information support, and support with software. Modular, in its turn, makes it possible to set up the system quickly for newly applied tasks. The architecture for the proposed information and analytical system for recognition of emotional coloring of the news text information envisions the following. The proposed system is performed in a standard structure and composes linguistic support, information support, and software that are sustained by corresponding prototypes. To resolve an assigned applied problem, the model of the input language, English in this case, the knowledge domain model, and the user model are obligatory. As a part of this model, a developed analytics approach is applicable to determine the key characteristics by use of the technique of emotion coloring assessment and estimation of the intensity of news workflow impact. Models for emotions detection in the text includes two stages, which are filtering and finding words that contain emotions, and transformation of words by use of unsupervised machine learning technique. It is the model of basic rules, which demonstrates emotional coloring and text nature. The model for ready data representation form selection is oriented to a final user of the system and provides answers to all questions interested. It must be brief and visual, and to take into account the user characteristics. The next model is the model of the object domain. It is assigned for a thematic sampling of sentences necessary for the analysis. As a vital component of this procedure, text undergo checking for their correspondence with the assigned subject, and vocabularies V1 and V2 are used for this purpose. So the table which was demonstrated before prescribes the basic emotions extracted from psychology groundwork results and signifies the basic human reaction of psychics. So the next task envisions to set emotional recognition proceedings to the particular target audience. So these are emotional characteristics that were proceeded in a practical way. So it contains alpha code and degree of exposure of each emotion. So it is useful for the assessment of emotional intensity of news text. The input language model is oriented exclusively on the text information. The linguistic support of the applied task means morphological, syntactic, and semantic analysis. This example demonstrates a text which is processed by means of the prototype for the text nature assessment with analysis of emotional coloring. The recent actuals of the Russian war against Ukraine are taken like a subject for processing. So we see the nature of the text. Each meaningful word is marked with the corresponding color, and the graph shows the intensity and the nature of this text fragment. The architecture of the automated information system presented here realizes the concept of the modular organization of all kinds of support for the system. This enables a prompt tuning of the system both to a new knowledge domain and the other applied problem. To make main text characteristics and results of NLP processing to be seen by an analyst at a cursory glance, the tools of exploratory data analysis are used. The features above mentioned are demonstrated visually. That makes possible to recognize the emotional coloring of news text and its proper assessment regarding the controversy and corresponding dual treatment by counterparts audiences. This approach provides a significant advantage for the user, the professional analyst in the information politics domain, and it is this advantage is the following. Results of processing are presented in a form easily perceived and comprehensive for the user with a level of English of different degree from pre-intermediate to advanced and upper.
Okay, thank you, Oksana. You're just in time. Thank you very much. So do we have any questions?
Yeah.
Oh, Karyna, do start, please.
Oksana, could you tell us which information technologies or maybe which programming languages did you use for creating prototype?
What do you mean under information technology in this case?
I mean, what is programming language did you use? Maybe some platform, how to use your prototype in future. So you said that in your presentation that we have, you have prototype for now, and you can use this prototype. And can you tell us maybe architecture of this prototype and how to create this prototype?
In general, so the programming, how to say, is not my professional domain, but the basic technique, it was unsupervised machine learning technique. So, and different kinds of linguistic analysis. So,
I understand. But what about software? Do you use this software, or it's only tiny prototype and that's all?
This is a prototype with the software which is on how to say, it is on
In progress, maybe for now. Yeah.
Yeah, it is in progress. So it is it is a kind of pre-design stage.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we shall probably continue our discussion at the end of the section if we have time today. And now we have reached the end of this part, and we have a coffee break. And probably, if you don't mind, we'll start, well, like several minutes later So not at 1 o'clock and 15 minutes, but like 13 and 20. Okay. So 1 o'clock and 20 minutes, we're starting the next part of our session. Thank you very much and welcome in 15 minutes.
Thank you.